Hello and welcome. Gear up for 30 captivating questions crafted to test your abilities. Why do your fingers wrinkle in water? To help grip better. Because they absorb water. They get cold. The correct answer is, to help grip better. Here's an interesting fact: wrinkling helps improve grip on wet objects. What causes hiccups? Spasms in the diaphragm. Stomachache. Swallowing air. The correct answer is spasms in the diaphragm. Here's an interesting fact: hiccups happen when the diaphragm muscle contracts suddenly. Why does popcorn pop? Water inside heats up. Air makes it pop. Corn is light. The correct answer is, water inside heats up. Here's an interesting fact: water inside kernels turns to steam and explodes the shell. What is static electricity? Built-up electric charge. A type of wind. Magnet power. The correct answer is, built-up electric charge. Here's an interesting fact: static is caused by imbalance of electrons on a surface. Why do we sneeze? To clear irritants. To breathe faster. Because we're tired. The correct answer is, to clear irritants. Here's an interesting fact: sneezing helps remove dust or pollen from the nose. Why does metal feel colder than wood? It conducts heat faster. It has more air. It's actually colder. The correct answer is, it conducts heat faster. Here's an interesting fact: metal pulls heat away from your skin quickly. Why do we see lightning before thunder? Light travels faster. Thunder is louder. We're closer to lightning. The correct answer is, light travels faster. Here's an interesting fact: light travels faster than sound, so we see it first. Why do bubbles pop? The water evaporates. They get tired. They melt. The correct answer is, the water evaporates. Here's an interesting fact: bubbles burst when the water layer dries out or hits something. Why does cutting onions make you cry? They release a gas. They are spicy. They are dirty. The correct answer is, they release a gas. Here's an interesting fact: onions release a gas that irritates your eyes. Why do balloons stick to walls after rubbing? Static electricity. Gravity. Hot air. The correct answer is static electricity. Here's an interesting fact: rubbing balloons builds static charge that sticks to surfaces. Why does your shadow change during the day? The sun moves. You grow taller. Wind changes it. The correct answer is, the sun moves. Here's an interesting fact: as the sun changes position, your shadow shifts. What makes your ears pop on a plane? Air pressure changes. The speed of flight. Loud engine noise. The correct answer is, air pressure changes. Here's an interesting fact: changes in altitude affect pressure in your ears. Why does ice float on water? It is less dense. It's heavier. It traps air. The correct answer is, it is less dense. Here's an interesting fact: ice is less dense than water, so it floats. Why do leaves change color in autumn? Less sunlight. Too much water. They want to rest. The correct answer is, less sunlight. Here's an interesting fact: trees get less sunlight and stop making green chlorophyll. Why does a mirror flip images sideways? Reflection angle. It absorbs light. Because of silver. The correct answer is, reflection angle. Here's an interesting fact: mirrors reflect light back at the same angle it hits them. Why can birds fly but humans can't? Birds have light bones and wings. They jump higher. They breathe faster. The correct answer is, birds have light bones and wings. Here's an interesting fact: birds have hollow bones and wing structure for flight. Why don't fish drown in water? They use gills. They hold their breath. They drink water. The correct answer is, they use gills. Here's an interesting fact: gills extract oxygen from water, like lungs do from air. Why do feet smell after wearing shoes? Bacteria break down sweat. Shoes are too tight. Your feet are tired. The correct answer is, bacteria break down sweat. Here's an interesting fact: bacteria feed on sweat and cause odor. Why do we see our breath in cold air? Water vapor condenses. We are exhaling fog. The air is thick. The correct answer is, water vapor condenses. Here's an interesting fact: warm breath condenses into tiny water droplets in cold air. Why do clothes stick together in the dryer? Static electricity. Too much heat. They're wet. The correct answer is static electricity. Here's an interesting fact. Rubbing clothes builds up electric charge that makes them cling. Why does soda fizz? Carbon dioxide is released. It's spicy. It gets hot. The correct answer is carbon dioxide is released. Here's an interesting fact. Gas escapes from the liquid when the bottle is opened. Why do cats land on their feet? Flexible spine and reflexes. They're lucky. They don't fall. The correct answer is flexible spine and reflexes. Here's an interesting fact. Cats have a writing reflex and flexible bodies to twist mid-air. Why do your pupils get bigger in the dark? To let in more light. They're sleepy. Eyes are scared. The correct answer is to let in more light. Here's an interesting fact. Pupils widen to help you see better in low light. Why do we shiver when cold? To create warmth. To lose weight. To cry. The correct answer is to create warmth. Here's an interesting fact. Shivering is muscle movement that generates heat. Why do bubbles in boiling water rise? Heat makes water lighter. Water turns into gas. Water gets confused. The correct answer is water turns into gas. Here's an interesting fact. Water becomes steam and rises as bubbles. Why does salt melt ice? It lowers freezing point. It gets warmer. It's heavy. The correct answer is, it lowers freezing point. Here's an interesting fact. Salt stops water from freezing at its normal temperature. Why do airplanes fly? Lift from wings. Engines suck air. Clouds push them. The correct answer is, lift from wings. Here's an interesting fact. Air moves faster over the top of wings, creating lift. Why can't you see stars during the day? Sun's light is too bright. Stars hide. They move away. The correct answer is, sun's light is too bright. Here's an interesting fact. The sun's brightness blocks out the faint starlight. Why do we blink? To moisten and clean eyes. To rest. To signal others. The correct answer is, to moisten and clean eyes. Here's an interesting fact. Blinking spreads tears and removes dust from our eyes. Why do we yawn? To get more oxygen. To stay awake. Because we're bored. The correct answer is, to get more oxygen. Here's an interesting fact, yawning may help cool the brain and bring in more oxygen. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. Stay tuned for more exciting content, and we'll catch you in the next one.